Hello and welcome to Knife Delights. This is part 8 of my Buck knife collection overview, and today we're going to be going over my Buck 110s and 112s. I thought I'd start here with an opening shot with them all laid out here, but as we go through each model I'm going to have to kind of clear the table because we've got some tins and boxes and things that we need to go through, and it's going to get a little crowded. But, you know, other than the traditional fixed blade knives of the class of buck knives, this is one of my favorites. And I've got what? I got about 8 of them, 9 of them here on the table. I'll tell you what, I wish I had 20 or 30 of them in the different configurations. Buck has been very proactive in the last few years of updating both of these patterns. They've come out with great new handle materials, upgraded steels. They made some auto. They've made them slim, and there's just a whole variety. You really need to go to like the Buck website. That's just www.buck.com, I think. But anyway, go to the Buck website. I think if you're not familiar with Buck knives and their 110s and 112s, I think you'll be amazed at all the different choices there are out there these days. So we are going to get started here, but first I'm going to kind of clear the table off and get it set up. We're going to start out here with my Buck 110 LTs, or Buck 110 Lights as they call them. Again, this is a modern version of the 110, the classic 110. And although it's the same model, there's a lot of little differences to them. And I think I did a 2 for Tuesday video on this one, on these two knives. But the one on the left here, obviously in black, the one on the right in orange, pretty much the same knife, except that this one I purchased through Walmart. I believe it to be a Walmart exclusive. I have not seen them lately in Walmart, so I don't know if they're still selling them, if there's any online. But you can see how big the Buck imprint is there, stamp, compared to this one here that is sold through, on the Buck website and other retailers. You can see the Buck is very much smaller. The checkering is just a little bit different, I believe. This one feels a little bit more aggressive than on this one. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. Well, look. These are the little nuances that us Buck knife nerds look for. There's a little bit difference in the size of the lanyard hole. So, yeah, lots of little nuances there. But other than that, pretty much basically the same knife. I was looking at the sheaths, or the pouches here, just prior to making the video, and I realized there's a difference in the pouches also. So they are a nylon pouch, but you can see the difference. This one, the lettering's just a little bit bigger, and it's sewn directly into the pouch. And on this one, the lettering's smaller, but there's like a little tab there that they sewed on. You know, they sewed it into a tab and then sewed the tab on. So you can see where they sewed it on there. You can see this one's sewn directly in. So, just another little nuance. And of course, on the back, they always give the model number there. Like that. So, there you have it with the first two, the Buck 110 Light. These are the Buck 110s that we're most familiar with. Came out in the early 60s. And these knives are really what put Buck on the map as far as folding knives. These were classic knives. They just sold by the thousands to tens of thousands through the years. I would like to find out someday how many of the folding 110s that they have sold. But it really revolutionized the knife industry, and as I've talked about in other videos with lockback knives, you know, this is the granddaddy of them all. They didn't invent the back lock, but they certainly improved it. And the back lock on these knives have been copied by many, many, many other knife manufacturers. So on the left here is a Buck 110 that was made in 2003. And it is, I can't say new in the box. I don't have the box for it, but it is an unused knife that I was able to purchase from a local collector. And then this one on the right is a very recent 120th anniversary, 120th anniversary version of the 110. Now, as you see on the right, this is an ebony, and Buck first started using the ebony inlays on their 110s and 112s, and then there was a shortage of ebony, and they had to stop using it, and they switched to a wood grain. Now, they normally call their wood grain some sort of Dyma wood, or the Dyma wood just means it's infused with something to make it waterproof and to strengthen it and keep it from chipping and things like that. So, but the catalog just lists it as wood grain. Now, in the process of doing the video on this previously, I showed this belt pouch or sheath, and it's got the old Buck logo on there. And I had turned it over, and when I was doing that video, I discovered for the model number on the back of this pouch, it says 426. And I didn't know why it would say 426. I thought, oh my goodness, I probably have the wrong pouch for this knife. That when I, this is what it came in when I bought it. So I've done a lot of research here, looking through catalogs. So the 426, I got to look at some notes here. The 426 was called the Bucklight 3, and it was made from 84 to 86. And then the Bucklight 3 changed to the Workman series of knives by Buck, and I think they changed the name to the Taskmate. Now, so the Bucklight was a folding knife, kind of like that Buck LT. It was a thin plastic folding knife. Very similar in the shape and size to this, I think. But in looking through the catalogs, none of the 426s that I saw had this sheath with it. It had more of a really thin nylon sheath, almost like a pocket slip type sheath for it. I did see the first time that this logo appears in a Buck catalog was in 1998. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't use this previously. They don't always show all of the sheaths in every year of their catalog, but this is the first time I actually see this logo being used. I saw in a 2000 catalog, remember this one's from 2003, in the 2003 catalog, it doesn't show a sheath with this, it just shows the knife. But in a 2000 catalog, next to the Buck 110, like this, it shows this sheath right here. So apparently this knife did come with this sheath. Why it's labeled 426, I don't know. Maybe one year they did use this pouch or this style of sheath for the Bucklight 3. I don't know. But at least I can say that it is, it is original to have a 110 with this sheath, even though it says 426 on the back. Are you confused yet? I'm confused. But again, this is the thing that us Buck knife nerds like to research. All the little things here in history, and you're trying to figure out, it's been years ago. Why did they do it this way? How is it done that way? So, just something interesting there. We'll go over here to the 120th anniversary. Of course, the year I'm recording this is 2023. So, in this year, Walmart came out, must have contracted with Buck to come out with this limited edition, 120th anniversary. And it does have the ebony scales. Now, Buck was able to go back to using ebony scales here the last couple years because they made a deal with Taylor Guitars. And Taylor Guitars uses ebony in what is that, the pick guard they call it on the guitar. And so Buck is able to buy their scraps and use it for their handle material or their inlays here. So I'm going to set this stuff aside just a little bit because the 120th anniversary knife came in this really nice tin. Again, through Walmart. I didn't see it in any Walmart stores. I think you had to buy it online. And the price was actually pretty good. It was about, well, right at $40. You know, 110s anymore are going for $60, $70, so it was a very good price. And then inside the tin, of course, was where the knife was. That's also where I got this coin, kind of like a challenge coin. And I've just kept it out, used it for display, because if you keep taking things in and out of these things, it'll get worn and that. But then it has a note here about celebrating 120 years of craftsmanship. And I'll hold it here so you can pause the video if you wish to read it. So there we are. The Buck 110 120th Anniversary Edition. And then one from 2003. Well, it's time to talk about the fabulous Buck 112 Ranger. And as you can see, I've got 5 of them, 4 in the traditional configuration, and then one of the modern ones here. And I thought we'd start off with this model here. This is a 50th anniversary edition. And the 112 Ranger was first started to be made in 1972. And it first appeared in the 1973 catalog. So this is what we got here. And you can see it's got a special tang stamp on it. It's got the anvil with the 50 in it. Buck USA. Just a gorgeous knife. Of course, it's got this nice shield here with the anniversary. Yes, what a wonderful knife. Now this knife came in a very nice presentation box, and Buck has started using these magnetic boxes in the flap. I'm not going to read everything to you, so I'm going to hold this up here, shows you what it says, and then you can pause it if you want to read it. But inside the box, of course, came the sheath. This is a pretty standard traditional Buck black leather sheath or pouch, if you want to call it a belt pouch. They refer to them as sheaths, I believe. And it also came with this nice little, I guess it's nylon type material, little thing to store it in. Yeah, so that's very nice. And then also it came with a bunch of paperwork. Oh, it's stuck down in there. Come on out, guys. So then here's a certificate of authenticity on the 50th anniversary edition. Again, I won't read it. You can pause it if you want to read this. And then this is the message from the Buck family. And this little thing, little message comes with a lot of the Buck knives. And then the famous forever warranty. And then another little card that talks about natural markings. And you've heard me talk about, when you use natural products, that nature puts its own brand marks in. So when you're using natural materials, whether it's wood, bone, stag, whatever, they're all going to look just a little different because nature puts its own little stamp on it. So this was a nice little package Yeah, the 50th anniversary edition. Now I want to say something here and maybe correct something that I said earlier, that I thought all the 110s and the 112s all started with ebony covers. I'm not so sure that's the case. It may be the case with the 110s. With the 112 Ranger, I believe they started out with black micarta covers. Now, I intend on doing an in-depth review on the history of the 112 and of the 110. This is just an overview video, so just in brief, the snapshot history of the 112 is, according to the Buck website, that there were some sailors on board the USS Ranger, and they got in a fight, and one sailor pulled out one of the folding 110 Hunters, and the captain of the Ranger said, okay, from now on, your knives have to have a blade less than 4 inches. So Buck saw an opportunity, and they developed the 112, which has a 3-inch blade, 3-inch cutting blade, and cutting edge, I'm sorry. And yeah, I think that's a 3-inch cutting edge. It all depends on how a knife company measures their knives. Let's just double check here for sure. No, it's actually 3 inches to the bolster. So it has just under 2.5-inch cutting edge. But anyway, so since the USS Ranger was important, since that fight happened on board the USS Ranger, that's how it got its name, the Ranger. So again, this is the 50th anniversary edition. Okay, next up, since we did the 50th anniversary edition of the 112, I got another 112 here, and it's a 100th anniversary, but it's the 100th anniversary of Buck Knives. So 1902 to 2002. Just a lovely knife. There's the tang stamp on that. Again, it's got the special marking. It's just got the anvil on it. All the knives that came out in 2002 have that anvil on it. Instead of like the model number with a symbol, date symbol next to it, the anvil is the date symbol. So, yep. There's not much difference in all of these knives, just like the covers and the tang stamps and like that. Other than that, they're all just the basic 112 Ranger. But what a gorgeous knife. Now this knife, which I got from a local collector, came in this tin. It says 100 years of quality, Buck Knives. And then you open up the tin. Of course it says Buck Knives here. Open it up and let you read that if you wish to pause and read it. You got that little card. Caution, blade very sharp. Indeed it is. And then you got this Buck Knives hat pin in with it. Let me see. I don't think I've ever taken this out. Oh. I've never taken it out, but it came with this pouch. 100 years Buck Knives. So, a nice way to store your knife. Little Velcro, sheath made in China. Little sticker there. So yeah, I'm not worried that it's not a leather pouch, because hey, I got several Buck 112s here with leather pouches. And you can, for the 110s and the 112s, you can go to the Buck website. They do have replacement sheaths for all of these knives. Yeah, so just a very nice tin. I was happy to be able to pick up this 100th anniversary edition, celebrating 100 years of Buck Knives, 2002. Moving right along, we'll go down here to the end. This is a very special knife also. I mean, all these 112s I have here are special knives, all in their own right. This one is very special because this was given to me. I was a peace officer for many years, and upon my retirement, although I haven't actually retired, I work full-time, but I retired from being a peace officer, and a gentleman that I worked very closely with, he worked for another agency. He wasn't a peace officer, but he worked for a state agency, and he was one of those guys that whenever I had a question, and you always have questions when you're out in the field on how to handle some situation, I could call this gentleman up and he would take the time. It could be 10 o'clock at night and he wasn't at work, obviously, but I could call him and he'd help me out and tell me where I could go to get the information to answer my question. He was always there. He always had my back. Just a wonderful friend. And he got this knife for me. And on the blade it says protected and served. And it's got my first name. I did cover up my last name. But this is what Buck refers to as blue wood. And of course this is a finger grooved frame. And I'll tell you what, those finger groove, it's like they designed this knife for my hand. That is just so comfortable. I just love it. As a matter of fact, when I ordered the 50th anniversary knife, I got in such a hurry. I wanted to order one before they ran out of them. If I'd have been thinking, I would have gotten the finger grooves on that one. But that was an option for that knife. I really love the finger grooves on the 112. I don't have a 110 with the finger grooves. I don't know if that fits as well. But on this 112, let me tell you, it fits very nice. And because it come from the custom shop, you can see it has the anvil on there. And this knife came in a box like this. There's fancy string around it. Limited edition. Custom knife and blue wood and the FG for finger grooved. And you can open it up. And again, it came with the standard sheath. And it was inside this foam. And once again, a little card on the forever warranty. And a message from the Buck family. Another card here on the natural markings again. And then the certificate of authenticity. Custom 112 Ranger. So I'll tell you what, folks, if you're not familiar with the Buck custom shop, you need to go to Buck online, check out their custom shop. You can get a lot of models either with that are available for engraving, or there's several models that you can put different handle material on, finger grooved or not finger grooved. And the Buck Custom Shop does a wonderful, wonderful job. I love this blue wood. I've been meaning to add a 113 Skinner to my collection, and if I do order one, I want to get it with the blue wood on it. I just love that. Yep. So thank you, my friend, if you happen to catch this video. I have shown these. Well, I've actually shown all of these before, but yeah. Just a wonderful, wonderful, yeah, it even says custom knife shop on the back side of the blade. So, yep, another special knife here. The Buck 112 with the blue wood. Now my last traditional style Buck 112. Again, I've shown this many times on the channel. This knife, well, it's very, very special because this was my late father-in-law's knife. And after he passed, I was given the knife. So this knife here, first off, as you can see, it has no nail nick in the blade, which tells you it's one of the early models. And for dating the early models of the 110s and 112s, you can see there's a dot on each side of the 112. So that means this is what they refer to as a 2-dot 112. And the 2 dots means that it was manufactured between 1974 and 1980. I sent this in to the, sent it in to Buck. They have a refurbishing program. They give it a spa treatment, meaning they polished the brass, they polished the wood, and they put a new factory edge on the blade, polished it all up, and it just looks wonderful. It almost looks brand new. Now I know there's some fingerprints on here and that. I don't want to polish the brass because it's getting such a nice patina on it. Just very wonderful. So if you're not familiar with Buck's program, go to their website. Again, there's a form you fill out talking about the knife and what you want done with it. The last time I checked, the spa treatment costs $8. And Buck knives such as the 112, if they still have blades in stock, which they do for the 112 and the 110, those are iconic knives, so they'll probably always have some blades in stock, but you can have them replace the blade for $10. So even if you buy one of these old 112s or 110s off of eBay and the blade's shot, you know, you might be able to get the knife for $20, and then you can send it in for another $10 and get a brand new blade put on it. So yes, this is a very, very special knife, and you can look at the pouch, the sheath. You can see it was carried. Look at that. Look at the character of this sheath. So once again, a very, very special knife. It's an old knife. Well, the last 112 I'd like to go over here. The last one in my collection here. This is a modern version of the 112. You can see it's much thinner with this, what do they call it? Some sort of thermoplastic, GRN, glass reinforced nylon handle here. Makes this knife very lightweight. It's got the dual thumb studs, but it is in essence the same thing as, whoops, keep hitting my stand here. There's a comparison. Basically the same blade, slightly different. It's got a slightly different clip to it and more of a swedge right here, a longer swedge to it there. But again, it's lightweight. It's got the pocket clip on it. Some people have complained about this pocket clip. They think it's gaudy looking. I don't know. I've carried this knife quite a bit, and I'm not a big pocket clip fan, but this one seems to work fairly decent. And of course, it's the lock back. I love the orange. They come in different colors. And I will say, Buck in the last few years has really done a great job in updating these traditional patterns, these traditional knives, with a more modern option. So this is what's called the Slim 112 Slim Select, and it's Select because it comes in the standard 420 HC with the Boss heat treatment. But this, same with the 110, you can get the like the Select Pro, and that's going to have an upgraded steel to it. They've come out with I don't know how to describe it. Newer frames. They have the same shape, but they're built out of different materials. You know, different kinds of micarta and different handle material, different blade steels. I think some of them are autos. I don't have any of those really modern fancy ones. But again, Buck has been innovative, thinking ahead of the game. They haven't just relied on their laurels here and this success. They've decided to go ahead and update and try to meet the needs of the modern knife user, modern knife enthusiast. So again, check out the Buck website, because there are many different versions now of the 112. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this overview of my 110s and 112s. I encourage you to check out my other 8 parts of my series on this collection. This series was kind of suggested by Jerome, so thank you, Jerome. He had asked to see my whole Buck knife collection. I knew I had too many of them to show all in one video, so I've kind of broken them down into different parts and different categories of my Buck knives. And you know, since I've done the series, I've even gotten some more knives in that aren't included on those videos. So one of these days I'll probably do an update video on my collections. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, why, please ask in the comments. Just leave a comment in general. I always enjoy reading everybody's comments. Hit that like and subscribe button if you would, please. And lastly, but most importantly, everyone go out and have a very delightful day.